Let's get to the best moments of the day, and don't bore us. Get to the chorus. Don't bury the lead. All the different stuff. Yes, we are coming to you a mere few hours after, well, not even a few hours after the incredible failure, and that is all it is, of the United States to not only beat one of the elites of the world out there, but even to get out of the group. And there's a part of me that is, when your parents say, I'm not angry, I'm just disappointed. I mean, I've ceased to be angry, all right? Because let's be honest, this is a Groundhog Day type of thing when we see this team fail to beat, let alone to be competitive on a consistent basis with the elites out there. And so I had a lot to say after the show, as did Carli, but I'm not telling you anything you don't know. It's not a good day. And we are 2 years away from the most important summer in American soccer history, the summer of 2026, and the return of the Men's World Cup here, and the opportunity and the platform that it affords. And I'll leave you with this, and I want to hear you guys' thoughts here, but I want to be excited about this team, and I want to be excited about men's soccer, and I want to be excited about the World Cup in this next 2 years. And right now I find myself here on Monday, July 1st, not excited about this team going forward. And that sucks. And that hurts. And that should not be. We should be on a rocket right now of excitement. And yeah, there's a little delusion because it's sports, okay? But I don't even have that. We should be being propelled by all of this wonderful positivity and energy towards the summer of 2026. And yet, at least I find myself in the exact opposite position. Carli, thoughts on the game, but more big picture on where we stand here in July of 2024 relative to 2026.
Well, I know it's different, but I want to sort of compare it to the women's national team, where you just kind of see a trend and a direction that is happening, and you hope that they pull it together and it's, somehow they come to the Copa America, they get out of the group and play well and all those things. But I just think that today's game, I mean, they came out and they played well. And the intensity and, creating some chances, they looked hungry. I thought it was a good game for them, for some parts of that. But it's like too late in a sense. And, when you don't control your own destiny, this is what happens. And, they could have easily walked away they should have easily walked away with 6 points heading into this game. And they didn't. Yep. And I don't want to blame it on the red card. I don't want to blame it on, anything else. The reality is they didn't get it done. And when you look at a team like Canada, who actually got out of their group, scoring 1 goal, it is a failure. We do not want to see Canada getting out of the group in a Copa America tournament. Right? So
I can't believe it.
Something needs to happen. And, we were talking about, whether Berhalter's the right fit for the job, yes or no. Whether he is or isn't, I just think things need to be shaken up. And Mo Adu, had some thoughts and, about the federation. And, this is all of it. And I think that there really needs to be some deep diving evaluation that goes on.
Mosse?
I think the U.S. had a good first 30 minutes. The camera angle was a bit funky. But what really struck me was you and I started doing this podcast in early 2018 in the wake of the qualifying disaster. And all anybody wanted to talk about then was player development and coaching. And then this talented generation of players emerged, and we sort of got off that. But tonight, Clint Dempsey on the postgame show brought up the fact that the U.S. doesn't have enough creative players, and it has to do with the coaching and the player development and all the rest. And so it's amazing to me that all these years later, we're sort of back to that now.
Yeah, I mean, all right. So let's first just talk about the actual game, because I think Carli is right. There were some good things, but context is important, right? This is ultimately about winning. And post-game, I made a point of talking about how the American soccer culture and the American soccer history is unique. And it's very different. And it is a little apples and oranges when you're comparing and contrasting with the rest of the world. I know we do it, but that's just the reality. When it comes to how we play, America and this is not just American soccer fans, but America, when they tune in and watch, and if we are doing things to increase people coming to the tent, whether it's World Cups or anything else, all they care about is winning. And that's okay. There is a Americanness to that. And, Gregg Berhalter and this team will talk about the behind the scenes and the dynamic that goes on and the camaraderie and the kumbaya and all that kind of stuff. And I don't give a crap about that anymore. All right. I'm not saying it's not important. I'm not saying it can't help you be better at winning soccer games. But ultimately, the American public, when it comes to sports in general, and when it comes to things in general, they want to see the best and they want you to win. And they don't care how you win. And we've talked a lot about style and identity and blah, 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 blah. And so tonight, yeah, they played well. But the time for moral victories has come and gone a long time ago. And while this at times was a good performance, it wasn't nearly good enough. And you can't blame MLS. There weren't any MLS players over there. All right. You can't blame resources and pathways and opportunities, because it is night and day. And not just to back in the 1900s when I was running around, even 10, 20 years ago in what they have been given. And again, I have no problem with that. I'm very proud that this generation has more. But they're not living up to the agreement. We've given you more, so much more. And yet, I don't think that we've progressed. Carli, where we sit today, to Clint Dempsey's point, do you think that we have progressed? Because I think it's a little simplistic to think that we haven't progressed at all. If we haven't, then we're in big trouble.
I mean, I think that there has been, yes, I think there's been some progression, but it's so hard to tell because of the opponents they've come up against. This was the first true opponent. I mean, the friendly against Brazil and Colombia, that was before Copa America. The loss against Colombia was really poor. The tie against Brazil, Mosse, you don't think the Brazil team's that good anyway. So, it's all relative, but I just think that there's just been so much hype, so much talk about this golden generation, about these players, what you just named, the resources, the things that they have, the things that U.S. Soccer Federation provides. Mm-hmm. It's no different than on the women's side. So you kind of look at, okay, well, if this is supposed to be the most talented group, then why aren't they winning big games? Why aren't they doing well? And
are we being grumpy old men and women by saying that, Mosse?
They need to take some old school approach, the identity that needs to be there still. And I'm not sure that Gregg Berhalter is enforcing that. Mm-hmm. I don't really know what he wants to do, if he wants to play pretty, if he wants to play out of the back and, beautiful football. But at the end of the day, the American mentality on both the men and women's side is to be dogs, to be a nuisance, to be intense. Right. And then you can put your flair on that. And that's what Emma Hayes is doing coming into the women's side. So I just think that there's just some comfortability going on. They love Gregg. It's all good, but where's the accountability? Where's the tough love and the conversations that are being had with some of these players to push them, to make them better? And that's sort of what I question.
Yeah, I agree. The U.S. is in this no man's land right now. In this effort to be more progressive, they've shed some of that toughness, some of that blue-collar identity that past generations had, but they're still not talented enough to beat the best teams in the world. So,
good way to put it, yeah.
It puts you in this sort of weird place.
A couple of things on the actual game. I know there's a lot of talk about the referee. I thought he was horrible. It wasn't the reason why the United States lost. He was out of his depth and some really, really interesting calls.
Yeah, the play in the first half where he whistles a foul and shows a yellow card to Chris Richards and then lets Uruguay take the kick quickly was one of the more bizarre things I've ever seen in my life.
I don't think I've never seen that before.
And by the way, just a public service announcement, okay? While I know and I also encourage you to yell and scream at me and call me names out there, I wish I could take credit for, as Mosse mentioned, the camera angles. This is all commendable, all right? So channel your hatred and your anger towards commendable, all right? There's plenty that you can yell at me for, but this was all commendable. We did succeed to get it at least fixed for a little bit, but if you had been here in the Fox studios during that game, people were not happy.
Let's put a name to it. That was Brad Zager. Quite the flex by him. He looked at that and said, I'll take care of this. Made a couple phone calls, and next thing you know, the camera was fixed.
Because it was ridiculous.
But just staying on the referee for a second, can we talk about the Uruguay goal?
Yeah, go ahead.
I felt like they applied an MLS philosophy to that play because I've talked about before, an MLS, they don't like to chalk off goals. So they really stretched that clear and obvious to a bit of a farcical degree. If a goal is given, it has to be night and day clear that it wasn't a goal, that it was offsides. And so I don't know. I mean, to me, that looked like offsides, but I guess it was close enough and the call on the field was goal that the referee felt like maybe it didn't meet that threshold of clear and obvious, but that was a pretty interesting moment as well. I mean,
Tim Ream win the header. Again, I just like...
I feel like that play, though, just encapsulates like everything that's been going on with this team. You know, it's like just the smallest margin and another, breakthrough mistake of some sort. Like it just.
They have a set piece coach. They'll talk about set pieces, and then what happens? We lose on a set piece. So, and there were 50,000 people here. By the way, the crowds for this U.S. team have been incredible, and they deserve so much more. So first off, thank you everybody that whether you watched, because we've gotten great numbers in terms of people viewing. People want to love this team. People want to be inspired by this team. And, as it relates to Gregg Berhalter and his future, let's be honest. Any federation around the world, okay, would make a change. And nobody would bat an eye. It would be normal proceedings, okay? Now, I know the Ice Soccer Federation isn't necessarily normal, and they might decide to continue on. If that's what they feel is appropriate, fine. But, again, I want somebody in that position that is going to bring us together, that we're all going to be excited about. And right now, there's a lot of people who are not excited about this team because they don't feel that it has the right person in charge. As Stu Holden said multiple times on the broadcast, you can't fire the players, but you can fire the coach. Does that fix all the problems that we're talking about here in terms of development and where they are? Not necessarily. But leading up to the summer of 2026, I want somebody there that everybody is on board with. I know, you have people that don't like it, but I want the majority of people to say, yeah, I believe that this is the person that can do some things that we haven't seen before. And when I talk about doing things that we haven't seen before, I just want to remind everybody out there that this U.S. men's national team in major tournaments has beaten the likes of Brazil, Portugal, Argentina, Spain, Colombia. I mean, the list goes on, and England. The list goes on and on and on. So, again, doing it on a consistent basis where it's not a surprise and a historic moment every single time it happens, that's what we were promised. That's what we want. And that's who we need in charge of this team going forward. Carli, anything else on this game?
I feel like I've talked too much.
Okay, fine. Mosse, anything else on this game?
I will say one of the few bright spots for the U.S. in this Copa America was Balogun, and that was a big blow having him come off late in the half. Pepe came on. So at the very least, I think the U.S. comes out of this tournament feeling better about the number 9 position and the fact that Balogun looks like he could be the guy.
Yeah, but I'm left with more questions now. I don't think that Matt Turner is up to it right now. So I have a question in goal, and I don't see anybody coming in behind. All right, the back line, especially in the center back position with Richards and Ream, I'm not having it. Scally is serviceable, but if Serginho Dest isn't there, then we got a problem. I thought Jedi actually was one of the few bright spots for this tournament, and I like him up and down that left-hand side. Again, Gio Reyna was kind of invisible, he had a nice little volley, and everybody oohed and awed, but let's be honest, he needs to impose himself on a game. Christian Pulisic, I thought, had a good tournament, and is the most dangerous thing on the field. Weston, I thought, grew into the tournament, but he's still not at the level that we need. Musa finally came on the field and then didn't do Musa things. Tyler Adams showed up at the tournament and evidently can only play a half of a game. Balogun, at least he scored a goal. It would have been nice to see him continue on, but there's nobody waiting behind the wings in terms of Pepe and Sargent that are going to cause any problems. So,
and if Weston goes to the MLS,
which
is a big talking point, I'm not so sure that would be best for his career. So that's another question mark.
I know you think form is fallacy, but I think even you would acknowledge that it's optimal to have your players at least playing at club level.
Yeah,
on
wherever
a regular
you are,
basis.
I want you playing, yes.
So we do need to start having a conversation about whether it's worth bringing players in who aren't getting any playing time at club level, because you notice guys like Pulisic and Anthony Robinson, who are coming off good club seasons, they played pretty well in this tournament, while guys like Reina and Turner did not. So I think there is a potential issue there that needs to be looked at moving forward.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so we have the Olympics coming up for both men's and women's. And, I think there will be some eyes, certainly on the women's team, in terms of what's happening this summer because of Emma and this new page that has been turned. And I think a lot of people are actually, maybe that weren't excited about where the women's program was heading, are now more excited. And so that's what I'm talking about when it comes to whoever is in that leadership position. Someone that is new, someone that is different, and someone that excites it. And again, Gregg Berhalter, I don't think he's a bad coach, okay? No. But some things run their course. Some things get stale. And sometimes, yes, change is important in order to bring in a new type of attitude going forward, because this team cannot continue to do what it's doing. I'm done, like I said, with the with these successes that we look at. What's a success, but we lost. No, it's not. Just win, as the saying goes. Anything else on this game, either of you?
No, I'm ready to move on.
All right. We mentioned that Bolivia, Panama ended. Bolivia won, Panama 3. It was an interesting moment where Bolivia tied it up, and everybody was screaming and yelling and saying, "Oh my God!" But to Rob Stone's point tonight, that we are relying on frickin' Bolivia kind of shows how much of a failure this was.
Give credit to Panama. Thomas Christensen doing a good job there. They were very good in the Gold Cup last year, got to the final, and here they are in the knockout stages of the Copa America. So suddenly Panama has a little something going on.
I think all 4 goals in that game were good quality goals,
right?
too.
Bangers, man. Yeah. Oh, man. So it was, at our expense, and, we could view some of those goals going forward. All right. So I guess congratulations to Panama. Okay. And we'll talk a whole lot more in the coming days as we go on. Sorry.
Before we move on, do you have an issue? The cameras apparently caught Gio Reyna trying to swap jerseys with Luis Suarez at the end of that game. Do you have an issue with that?
Oh, I didn't see that.
I don't care about swapping jerseys. It really doesn't matter to me. I mean,
what about the referee not shaking Pulisic's hand?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get that. But this referee was ridiculous. It was a joke, and should not referee.
Do they do a review of these referees in Copa America?
Yeah, of course they do.
I would imagine.
Yank and pull, because
just as Gregg Berhalter is going to do a review of the federation and everything that went on, as he made in his press conference very, very clear that he's going to do that. I mean, we just saw the frickin' review. There it is. All right, you lost again. That's the review. I know I'm being a little glib and you know what? It's sports. It's sports. And I will say this. We know these people. I know Gregg, he has a family and all that. And I know it becomes sport to, say this guy should be fired or this person should be fired and all that kind of stuff. And there are human beings and there are families and there are lives that are affected and directly affected and indirectly affected when it comes to these things. But Gregg Berhalter has been, like we said, just been given so many opportunities. But
it's no different than Vlatko Andonovski. I mean, He's a nice guy, right? He's a good coach, doing well in club now. But
maybe we don't need a nice guy.
There needed to be a shakeup on the women's side, and I now think that there needs to be a shakeup on the men's side. Yep. Just a refreshing face.
Rob Stone said something tonight as if it's self-evident that it's true, and I think it's something that's worth debating. He brought up the fact that the U.S. should go after people like Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, and he said, this is a very appealing job. And I do wonder sometimes if we overrate that, if this notion that the U.S. has this amazing young talent, this potential to do great things in the next World Cup is something that sort of in our bubble here we think, but I don't know if it's really translated to the rest of the soccer world. Do you think the top managers in the world look at the U.S. as a team right now where if you walked in, you would have the players to potentially try to compete and win the next World Cup?
No, I don't think Pep or Klopp would look at the U.S. saying we're going to win a World Cup. I do think someone like Klopp and Pep, who is prone to taking sabbatical types of things, would look at it as, hey, for 2 years, because that's all it's going to be, and I don't have to qualify, and it's in a country that is going to love me, and it's a national team that hasn't done great things. Yeah, I think that sounds good. However, these are also coaches that have gotten most of their success, in some cases all of their success, relative to the elites and the super clubs that they have coached. And that is not what the U.S. men's national team is now, nor will it be in 2026.
I do get a sense, I'm not saying this is right, but it's just the way it goes, that if they do get rid of Berhalter, the pendulum is going to swing towards a foreign manager now. It seems to go back and forth with that.
Quick last question. Do you think
Bielsa. I think Bielsa would be an awesome.
Oh, don't do this.
Yeah.
You say his name and
Right?
Mosse starts
Yeah,
drooling.
Mosse.
It's just ridiculous.
No, I feel like he would fit the U.S. I feel like he would just fit the team
He's got
really
himself
well.
a pretty good gig right now with this
I know,
team. I don't
I
think
know.
he's
We're
going.
dreaming
I think
here.
He's going down. Quick, does the U.S. Soccer Federation make a change and fire Gregg Berhalter?
What I want them to do
What do you
I
think that they will do? Nobody.
I honestly, I don't think they're going to.
I think they should, but I'm not so sure. Again, I keep saying we have to put ourselves in the mind of somebody like Matt Crocker, who conducted this extensive search and came out of it feeling like Gregg Berhalter was the best guy to lead the U.S. in this cycle and into the next World Cup. And so it's going to be a higher threshold for him to get off of that than it would be for people like us who had some question marks about bringing Berhalter back.
Yeah, because he has to admit he screwed up.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is as much on. Oh, I don't think they're going to do it at all.
No.
I don't think anything that we say or any type of public.
So they'll bomb out of 26, and then it will be like, okay, we'll get somebody else.
Yeah, and it will be a historical waste of an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like I said, the likes of which that we have not seen, and it will be nobody's fault but our own for letting this happen, and the people in the leadership positions, obviously. And it's maddening. All right, well, we move on, onward and upward. You like that clip? Well, my State of the Union podcast drops twice a week right here on my very own YouTube page. The only way to stay up to date is to hit that subscribe button down below. Size the day, and see you soon.